Hello, welcome back to the YouTube channel. I'm back at the start of another week here on the YouTube channel, and we're kicking off with Eris, Roar of the Storm. 8 blue and red for a 4/4. That's really expensive. However, this spell costs 2 less to cast for each different mana value amongst the instants of sorcery cards in our graveyard. And it's got flying prowess, so, casting the instants of sorceries makes it bigger. That's nice. And then whenever we cast our second spell each turn, we get a 4/4 red dragon elemental creature token with flying and prowess. Yep, it's going to be another blue-red spells deck. I just can't help myself. It's dragons. Probably my favourite creature type ever. Yes, green is probably my favourite colour, but dragons are definitely my favourite creature type. So I couldn't really resist doing this for any longer, and I had to hit Eris. So here we go. I will point out, however, this is not a cheap one to build on Magic Online because some of the cards I'm playing, we're talking about just over 100 tickets for this one on MTGO, $763 in real life. There is one card that you can probably work out from this artwork here that's going to take all this down a little bit in real life and a little bit on Magic Online, along with this one. This one may be harder. But anyway, here we go. Let's go through this. Because we're interested in instances of sorceries, there's going to be a lot of things you have seen before in blue-red decks, and they are kind of becoming more and more standard. So, Baral, the Chief of Compliance, is here. Electrostatic Field, Firebrand Archer, Keswick, Flame Breather, they all do damage when we deal non-creature spells to our opponents. Obviously, going back up here, we've got Dockside Extortionist to make sure we've got the treasures so we can cast all the things we want to do. And Goblin Electromancer drops the cost of our instants and sorceries to make them cheaper, which always helps in a deck like this. Going from there, we've got a few of the other cards that count on having spells cast twice. So Malcolm the Eyes is here. When we cast our second spell, we get to investigate, which is nice. And it's a 2/2 for 2 mana with flying and haste. So, early damage is never a problem. Razzle Dazzle is also here. Cast our second spell, get a +1/+1 counter on it, and then it can't be blocked this turn, so that's nice. The Thermo Alchemist, we cast our instants of sorceries, we tap this first, cast the instant, untap it, keep pinging everybody, which is, it is what it is. Third Path Iconoclast gives us a soldier token every time we cast a non-creature spell. Young Pyromancer gives us a 1/1 red elemental creature token when we cast an instant or sorcery. Baral and Kari's Zerev are also in. Cast our first instant or sorcery spell. We can cast one with lesser value from our hand. If we don't, we get to have Ragavan come into play. No problem with this. Breaches the Blastmaker. Obviously, I did a whole deck about this in coin flipping last week. You can go and find it on the YouTube channel if you haven't seen it already. But this one, whenever you cast your second spell, we get to sacrifice an artifact. Yep. Flip a coin, win the flip, copy it. If we don't win the flip, it deals damage to that spell's value to any target. Chrome Host Sea Shark. I'll get untongue-tied in a minute. Non-creature spells let us incubate and have those little tokens in play. They are artifacts tokens, so we can sack them off to breachers, which is nice. Gutter Snipe is another one you'd expect to see when we cast an instant or sorcery, 2 damage to each opponent. Jorian Rune Diver is something that's been missed out, I think, in a lot of these decks. Whenever we cast our second spell each turn, we get to draw a card, so it helps us refill our hand. Ludwig Necro Alchemist also makes an appearance at the beginning of each player's end step. If that player may draw a card if any player other than you lost life this turn. Okay. Shackle Slinger is also in from OTJ. Whenever you cast your second spell, each turn choose target creature an opponent controls. If it's tapped, put a stun counter on it, otherwise tap it. Can be helpful if we've got something that's tapped and we can lock it down a little bit with the stun counters, otherwise maybe clear the pathway to get through some attacking. Unruly Catapult comes in from Wilds of Eldraine, deals 1 damage to each opponent, and then we get to untap it, so a backup version of the Thermo Alchemist, so yep. Go with that. Elemental Expressionist. It comes back in from Strixhaven. Whenever you cast or copy an instant or sorcery spell, choose target creature you control until the end of turn. If it would leave the battlefield, put it into exile instead, and you get 4/4 Elemental. That's fine. The other card that comes in from OTJ is Karam Violent Cacophony. I can never say that word. Cast our second spell each turn. Put a +1/+1 counter on Karam and draw a card. Urabras comes in from March of the Machines, I want to say. Can't remember. But first strike, whenever you cast instant sorcery, it deals 1 damage to target opponent. We get a red mana back, and then we can flip it into the Great Work eventually, which we should be able to do. Because we should be able to cast 3 or more instants and sorceries in a turn. Zathi Thunder Conductor lets us do the whole scrying thing, and then, you know, if we get to 10 or more, there you go. 5 or more gives us a 4/4. 10 or more mana value gives us a 10 damage at opponent at random. Gandalf the Grey makes an appearance. Casting instants or sorceries, we get to tap or untap things, deal 3 damage to each opponent, copy an instant or sorcery, and then eventually put Gandalf on top of the library. The chance is we're going to aim for 2 spells each turn. It's going to be copy the spell and the 3 damage a lot of the time, I would think. Well, that's how it's played out so far when I've tested the deck. Anyway. Iron Fist Pulverizer from OTJ. Second spell each turn. You get to do 2 damage to target opponent and do a bit of scrying. It's quite a nice 4/5 body with reach as well, so it helps. Jingataxis. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell with mana value 3 or more, you get to draw a card. And then eventually you get to activate it and flip it over into the Great Synthesis, which if we can keep it alive and get up to level 3 to do the whole turn of Omniscience, we are going to be happy. Karam, the original version of Karam, Ludwig's Opus, is also here. Whenever an opponent casts his or her second spell each turn, we get to draw a card. Melek, Reforged Researcher, lets us cut the cost of our first instant sorcery each turn, and then its power and toughness is equal to twice the number in our graveyard. Ancient Copper Dragon gives us treasures. Melek, Is It in Paragon, lets us play things off top of our library where we need to. Ogvik, Enigma Goliath. When we cast non-creature spells, we get Phyrexian 1/1 red goblin tokens equal to this mana value, and they get haste, so yeah, gives us a horde. Ancient Silver Dragon just gives us a whole load of cards and then makes we have no maximum hand size for the rest of the game. Nothing really that you wouldn't expect to see here so far. And to be honest, I don't think there's going to be much you won't expect to see in the rest of the deck. But it does work quite nicely with Eris. So, Wheel of Fate for the suspending thing. Obviously, this cost counts as 0, but it is a different mana casting cost. Faceless Looting, draw and discard a couple so we can get our extra spells in the graveyard if we need to cut the cost down of Eris. Ponder, Serum Visions, just lets us play around the top of our library. Counterspell, Mana Drain gives a bit of control. Cyclonic Rift, we get to bounce everything if we need to. Chaos Warp to get rid of that thing that's annoying us. Day's Undoing, so we can shuffle everything back into our library. If it's gone pear-shaped, draw new 7 cards and then stop our turn there and then. Jessica's Will gives us mana and cards for a turn. Prismari Command does some damage, gives us treasures. Rift Bolt, because I just like suspend occasionally, and this is a nice way of getting a 3-drop in your into your graveyard very early on to cut down Eris's cost. Chain Reaction gives a bit of board control along with Burn Down the House. Admittedly, here we go, different casting costs are up to 4 and 5 here, so yep. I went a bit beardy and went a bit for the Time Warp effect, so Temporal Manipulation and Time Warper here. And then the card that does cost a fair bit in real life, Time Spiral. Get to do the whole shuffle their hand and graveyard into their library, draw 7, untap 6. Getting, pleased this card is still not banned in Commander. I'm very happy about that. A bit more beardy stuff with Temporal Mastery to get us into the extra turn step if we need to. Unfortunately it does exile, so it doesn't help. But, we could use the extra turn occasionally. Amenartu's Augury, exile the top 8 cards of our library, put a land card from among them onto the battlefield, and until the end of turn, for each non-land card type, you may cast a spell of that type from exile among the exiled cards without paying its mana cost. Yeah, that's good. Magnus Opus gives us the damage or a token, depending how we need it, or the spell we need to get into the graveyard so Eris can be played for literally next to, blue and a red with a bit of luck. And Blasphemous Act for a bit more board control. Mana Crypt, Elixir of Immortality, Soul Ring, Arcane Signet, Ruby, Sapphire Medallion, Talisman of Creativity are all things you've seen in my decks before from an artifact point of view. All have their uses in this deck, especially the Elixir of Immortality. It's the only way we've got to gain any life if things are going very pear-shaped on us. Enchantment-wise, Brimstone Roundup comes in from OTJ, gives us a mercenary if we can cast it each time we cast our second spell, so yep, that's fine by me. Pyromancer's Assault deals 2 damage to target creature or player when we cast our second spell, so shock someone when you do your second spell, probably the person who's ahead. And the Storm of Saruman, don't like this artwork, but you know, 2 blue and 4. Whenever you cast your second spell each turn, copy it. And if it's not legendary, it does become legendary. It loses its legendary ability, and you get to choose new targets. So yeah, it works. It's good in the deck. Land wise, just red and blue lands all the way through as you want it to be. I've included Eroded Canyon because the 1 point of damage does sometimes help just to finish someone off. I've been there, I've done that, it does work. Fabled Passage, Frostborn Snarl, Highland Lake, Island Library. Library from the clue set, just so we can investigate if we need to do some card drawing. River Glide Pathway, you can drop this out if you want to save some tickets on MTGO. Scalding Tarn is actually more cheaper than the River Glide Pathway, which just always bemuses me entirely. The rest of it is just the usual lands, including, you know, Reliquary Tower, Temple of the False God, that I know people don't always appreciate in a deck like this. However, Eris, the Roar of the Storm, is quite good. I'm sure there are cards I've missed out. Yes, it probably could use some more card draw in it. There's a few other things in there, but you know, it's just your standard. It's a good. I think this one makes a good starting point to take it further. I think Eris suffers from its casting cost. Yes, you can drop it down a bit, but you know, at the end of the day, you want to have a bit of fun on MTGO or in real life, and you've got the cards to build this with. Have a look at it. It's not bad, and you can play around with the creatures. You can drop some of the creatures out on where I've gone very high on the creature count here, so you can drop a few more, play a few more instants and sorceries if you want to, and it should, and it will, well, it's no shit about it, it will carry on working. Just build it how you want to build it. But that's it for today. Hope you've enjoyed today's deck tech. Please, if you haven't already, hit the subscribe button down below. I'd appreciate anyone who can subscribe to the channel. It really does help out. And thank you to all the people who subscribed last week. We had quite a good week last week. We went up to 418 subscribers here on YouTube, so I do appreciate that. And yeah, a few more, even nicer. So thanks for watching. Take care. I'll see you very soon in the next deck tech. Bye.